देख लो, आज तो वैसे ही बोलना नहीं है, वैसे अवॉइड तो मैं भी अवॉइड कर रही थी बोलना। हमने स्क्रीन पे सारा कर लिया है शेयर। कर लेगी। हाँ ओके समीना, यू हैंडल। वो 5 को तो मिल गया, मैं एक बार उनको और को भेज दूँ।
Okay, ma'am. Now streaming is on, so if you are talking on the, keep your mic mute.
समीना तुम्हारी बैकग्राउंड बहुत आवाज आ रही है।
Okay, ma'am. I'll find a corner. Just.
It's a very loud sound is coming.
Ma'am, now it's okay.
Keep waiting, because they may join at 12 o'clock. So don't need to speak all this.
Okay, ma'am. But I can't keep the screen empty, so it's better that I keep this on display.
Yeah, you keep displaying the things, keep circulating slowly and slowly the slides till 12
Okay.
o'clock.
I'm not speaking anything now.
Don't speak, just keep the slides moving on till 12 o'clock.
Okay, ma'am.
When there's lot of content on slide, make it still. आज तुम्हारे पीछे से बहुत आवाज आ रही है समीना, पता नहीं रोज तो नहीं आती थी।
मैम अब मैं केबिन में आ गई हूँ तो अब शायद नहीं आनी चाहिए।
दरवाजा बंद करो पीछे से।
हाँ दरवाजा बंद है मैम, एक्चुअली यहाँ नैक की मीटिंग चल रही थी।
अच्छा अच्छा। आज के सेशन से ही स्लाइड्स दिखाओ ज्यादा बस।
ओके मैम।
Show from today the slides. Don't show previous slides which you made previously.
यस मैम।
From here, from here. Because if they join in, then start from here, and no need to speak. You just wait at 12 till 12.
ओके मैम।
Move the slide. Key from here.
Ma'am, the slides for today are over, so I'm just replaying from
Keep,
the.
don't worry. You have to keep repeating. People are joining still. You no
Oh,
need to worry. You need not to worry about repetition
okay.
because people will keep joining till 12:05. Those who are really interested. Don't show all these slides. I told you to keep the schedule of the day. Move next slide. Move next slide. Bus keep this slide. Keep this slide. Keep this slide
Okay.
still. And don't move any slide unless you reach to 12 o'clock. Okay, keep the slide still.
Okay.
Move next pictorial slide. Keep pictorial slides moving on.
Ma'am, Roswitha Joshi ma'am has joined. Roswitha ma'am, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You're audible.
Okay. Shall I now let me?
Good morning, Roshvita ji.
Good morning.
I'm Dr. I'm Dr. Jayashree Singh.
Yes, Jayashree.
Welcome on the board. It's nice to have you here. It's a great pleasure and honor for us to have you as a guest, honorable keynote speaker. I welcome you very heartily with all greetings for good morning wishes.
I wish you the
Uh,
same.
yeah,
Actually, I wish I would be there in person.
pardon?
I wish I could be there in person.
Yeah, actually, we wanted that you could be there in person, but actually, first you have to, let us be free virtually. So, with certain kind of, exchange, bilateral exchange, we will be able to create, better relationship.
Definitely, definitely, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, I had gone through your, some short stories. They're really, just touch your nerves. That really how simple you are in your expression, but you go deep into the mind with your words and expressive emotions. I loved one of the story, Indian Dreams.
Okay.
uh, there you were talking about the professional woman facing at home front, what kind of challenges, and how the dreams they are, at one side they are fears, and on the other side they are just metaphorically a release, and giving you some courage to buck up yourself. It's beautiful. I read this in this Indian Dreams in the book On the Rocks. I did not read the complete book of Indian Dreams. I, I just went through the story or anecdotes of Indian Dreams from the book On the Rocks. Yeah, yeah, On the Rocks. It is some slight editing is required. She has written One the Rocks. Book is On the Rocks.
Okay.
We are still waiting for people to join in. I don't know where the other guest. We are just waiting for all. Have they been able to connect or not?
Well,
No, ma'am, not yet.
I was myself waiting for some time because the time given was 11:40, and I thought maybe I'm technically not good enough to.
Sure, sure.
But now it seems to be working on my side. You tell me when you want me to start talking.
Yeah, sure. We will just wait for 5 6 minutes for
Okay.
you. Otherwise, there are some students waiting for you to listen. So we'll just see how why are they facing difficulty to join with you. I'll, okay, I'll just ask Samina.
Yes,
All the speakers are finding it difficult through this link to enter in.
ma'am, what can we do? Like, the link is already on, YouTube streaming is on, everything is on.
Speakers are finding it difficult. Samina, speakers.
Ma'am, can
You
you
reach.
ask them to connect with me once?
Are you talking to me?
No, no, not Rajvita, not to you. I'm just talking to the moderator. Uh,
Ma'am, can you ask them to join with me so that I can guide them?
how will they join with you, dear? Why do you always create some last moment chaos? Why don't you try at night everything?
Ma'am, how can I try at night?
So we can try both exchange with each other, na? We
Ma'am, the
same process.
link is working because
You send the invite link. Why have you sent such a big link? Direct send from their invite link. हाँ सर वही. Actually, listen, Rajvita has joined through this link. So she has joined. So that means the link is okay. Perhaps हाँ वो MS Teams से ही नहीं हो रहा होगा कनेक्ट. आप कल जीमेल कनेक्ट करो पहले या तो फिर आप ऐसा करो सारा स्विच ऑफ कर दो मतलब स्विच ऑफ का मतलब स्विच ऑफ योर MS Team और माइक्रोसॉफ्ट है ना. तो जब वापस से जब MS Team क्लिक करोगे तो वो आपको MS Team आपकी ईमेल आईडी और अकाउंट नंबर मांगेगा. हाँ नहीं आप पहले अपना MS Team खोल लो है ना. MS Team को खोल लो पहले. फिर वहां जाके ईमेल से उस लिंक को क्लिक करो तो वो फिर खुल जाएगा. हाँ ठीक है. हाँ
ma'am, ma'am, I've sent you a link on WhatsApp. You can forward this link. Just ask them to click on this. That's it.
ओके. नहीं वो बेचारे उनको क्या समझ में नहीं आ रहा कि वो क्या होता है. MS Teams को पहले वो कर लेना होता है ओपन कर लेना होता है थ्रू माइक्रोसॉफ्ट अकाउंट. ठीक है वो खोल लेते हैं फिर उनको अपनी ईमेल से उस लिंक को क्लिक करना होता है. तो जैसे वो उस लिंक को वहां से क्लिक करेंगे तो आपका जो MS Team आपके डेस्कटॉप पे ओपन है वो उसको कैच कर लेता है. तो ये लोग इस प्रोसेस को फॉलो नहीं कर रहे.
Okay.
So they have the chief guest has understood. So he will join in. I think I have to ask Suman Gwala also to make her understand in Arkey Dhawan. 4 people we need actually today. Samina, lot of sound from the back. Dhawan sir, unmute your mic. Coverage area. Leaf tribe.
Ma'am,
हाँ बोलो. Who is this VS? RD is Arkey Dhawan. VS is who?
ma'am, can you please mute your mic? Dhawan sir, can you please unmute your mic and check if everything is okay at your end?
Samina, Suman ma'am is on board.
Okay, ma'am.
She's there, but she's not visible here.
Yeah, she's not visible to me either. Dhawan sir is also here, but his mic is on mute. So,
Professor Bhatt still trying to enter in. He could not get through his laptop, so he's trying from his mobile now. So it'll take 2 or 3 minutes for him to get in.
okay. Ma'am, it's 12:10.
Some this is
Can you please mute your
please mute your mic. Please mute your mic, all of you. I request all the participants and speakers. You can check your voice Professor Jagdish Batra, can you hear us?
Yes, sure, I can hear.
Welcome, sir, on board. It's
Thank
real
you.
pleasure. It's real pleasure and immense privilege for us to have you on board. And we are
Thank you.
just waiting for Professor Y.C. Bhatt from Jaipur to
Professor
connect
Dhawan
us.
is also joined now.
Yeah, Suman Bala ma'am is also there already. And
Yes.
just moderator is waiting for all to enter in.
Professor Dhawan has just joined.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Samina, you can go through the today's schedule slide verbally and just read out the slide verbally.
Okay. So, good afternoon to all of you. Today's session, we will start with our honorable keynote speaker, Ms. Rajveda Joshi, and she will talk. She's a German writer in English from Hamburg, Germany, and she will talk about her books. Her popular books are Once More, On the Rocks, and Life is Peculiar, and other books also. After that, we have our honorable chief guest at 12:30, Professor Yogesh Chandra Bhatt, who is a professor at the University of Applied Sciences, Germany, chairman of research and development at MNIT Jaipur, and he will deliver a speech on the relevance of educational and intercultural exchange in post-pandemic times. After that, we have our honorable guest speaker, Professor Suman Bala from Department of Humanities, University of Delhi. She will address her opinion about the books of Ms. Rajveda Joshi ji. Thereafter, we have our honorable chairperson of the webinar session, Professor Arkey Dhawan, who is the former HOD of Humanities, University of Delhi, and he will deliver an overview of Ms. Rajveda Joshi's creative sense to conduct, and he will also conduct the question and answer session regarding the selected works of Dr. Rajveda Joshi, Ms. Rajveda Joshi. Today's webinar session is on the creative writings of Ms. Rajveda Joshi ji, and her talk will be addressed on the creative processes and its inspirations. She is a German writer in English from Hamburg, Germany. Here's a brief biographical sketch of Rajveda Joshi ma'am. Here's the list of her books. It includes Life is Peculiar, Once More, On the Rocks, Indian Dreams, Trapped in Wonder and Want, Fool's Paradise. Here we have Professor Yogesh Chandra Bhatt, our honorable chief guest of this session. He is the chairman board of governors of Engineering College Ajmer and Bikaner, director at Jagannath Gupta Institute of Technology Jaipur, and he has various other achievements as listed here. Currently, he is the professor of physics at Malviya Institute of Technology Jaipur. Next, we have our honorable guest speaker for the day, Professor Suman Bala from Department of Humanities, University of Delhi. Her research is at Ohio University and Perth University. Here is a brief biographical sketch of Dr. Suman Bala. Among her other achievements, we have one achievement, which is that she has been the president of Asian Association for Australian Studies. She has been a general secretary of Indian Society for Commonwealth Studies and treasurer of the Indian Association for American Studies. She is also the editor-in-chief of the Indian Journal of English Studies from 2009 to 2011. Next, we have our honorable chairperson for this session, Dr. Arkey Dhawan, who is professor of English at Delhi University. and he was British Council Scholar at Oxford University in 1979. He has received Lifetime Achievement Award from Association for English Studies in India in 2017 at Nagpur University. His topic for the day is an overview of Ms. Rajveda Joshi's creative sense. Shashi ma'am, are we good to go?
Invite Honorable Chairperson to address and the guest.
I'd like to invite Dr. Arkey Dhawan, our Honorable Chairperson for the session, to please come on stage and invite our Honorable Speaker for the day, Ms. Rajveda Joshi. Over to you, sir. So you can start. You're audible to all of us.
I think he's on mute. Are you on mute?
So you can start. You're audible to all of us.
Please, no, you're now on mute.
I don't see anybody but myself in a small corner on the screen. Are the others not also to be visible?
Yeah, ma'am. I'll just request to everybody turn on their cameras, please. She wants to say hi to all. Turn on your cameras, please.
Hi, Rajveda ji.
Yes, hi, but I can't see you. I see only myself as a small
Well,
cell in the corner of the screen.
I have turned on my camera.
But still, I can't see you.
So I'm in the role of Mr. India right now for you.
Shouldn't we all be on screen together?
I think it consumes a lot of bandwidth in case of MS Teams. So not many people probably would be visible on the screen.
But I only see myself. I don't see anybody else. And myself in the small STEM side. I think it's the technical on the organizer side.
We can hear you.
Samina, whose mic?
Just a second, ma'am.
Whose mic is creating chaos?
Now is it okay, ma'am?
Is okay. I think Professor Dhawan is unable to unmute himself. Professor Dhawan, can you hear us?
He has muted himself.
Professor Dhawan,
Yeah. Yes.
sir, we are waiting for your welcome to be extended to Miss Rajveda Joshi ji.
Yes.
Please extend your welcome greetings to her.
But you know, Rajveda, should we not
Yes.
see Dr. Dhawan also on the screen?
Yeah, I want everybody to turn on their cameras, but I don't know what is happening. Please turn on your cameras. Samina, can you see all those participants?
Yes, ma'am, I can see everyone.
So let all be visible. She wants to see if so that we can find out what is the fault in her.
Now I see you.
I think we are visible to her, all of us.
Let us check. Rajveda, can you see us?
Yeah, I can see, but only for a second, and then you are disappearing again.
Yeah. Now
We can see Rajveda ji now.
I'm sitting in my classroom, so I have to keep a mask.
But now you are gone again, and now another girl is there.
Yeah, she's the moderator. She's the moderator.
Okay,
Ma'am, everything good at your end?
are you talking to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm personally fine, but I'm missing the others on the screen.
Ma'am, I think everyone's
Rajveda,
camera is on.
I can see my own image and Rosvida ji's image. That's all. At a time, only two, but it doesn't matter because I can see the icons bearing the first, letters of names. So there are people around.
So
Let's
for
be sure
that,
of
you will
this.
have to minimize your gallery view, actually.
There is no option for gallery view. That's the problem.
So can you see the three dots on the top?
Yeah, I thought we should all
Sorry.
on the screen.
I can hear multiple voices.
Yes. So
Okay.
finally, Dhawan sir on board.
Yeah,
Good afternoon. No, sir, it's quite day. Good noon. Good noon. Good day, sir.
never mind.
Okay, ma'am, can we start now?
Professor Dhawan,
Yes,
are we ready?
yes, I'm here.
Sir, we are waiting for you to speak.
Are you me? Are you talking to me?
To Professor Dhawan.
Yes, I'm very much here. But Professor
Sir,
Shiri is speaking. Actually, there's a lot of echo. Can everyone go on mute except the speaker? Everyone else go on mute except the speaker.
I don't even know how to unmute myself because I'm unmute. Shall I mute myself? Hello?
Sir, everyone is on mute now.
yes, Professor Dhawan, we are waiting for you. Please address.
Shall I start?
because
Yeah. Yes,
Jashi is speaking.
it's already half an hour late.
There's a clash of voice. Jashi is speaking.
Shall we start with Miss Rajveda Joshi ji?
No, I am willing to speak.
So start now. Start. We are waiting. We are listening to you.
Okay. I don't know, but this clash of voices because Jashi is speaking.
Samina, take hold of the things.
Can I begin now? Arkey Dhawan?
Yes, you can
Yeah.
start.
Good morning. Hello, everybody. It's a great pleasure and honor to chair a session on Rajveda Joshi, the well-known Indo-German writer. I have known Rajveda for more than 15 years. I have read her novels and listened to her talks and at various forums. She is an active member of the Indian Society for Commonwealth Studies and has delivered talks at various conferences all over the country. Subsequently, Dr. Suman Bala will give profile of her life and writings. Meanwhile, because we have an excellent scholar in Professor Bhatt, who is deeply connected with Germany, and we like to hear him about his uh, being connected there and doing something for Indo-German connection. Uh, while talking about Roswitha as an Indo-German writer, I would like to put her writings in a historical perspective. You know, Roswitha has been attending good lot conferences, but in my opinion, so far nobody has put her writing in a historical fashion. Uh, so I would like to place her in the hierarchy of Indo-American writing. Uh, German interest in Indian culture and philosophy has a long history. Prominent German scholars like Max Müller, Goethe, and Schlegel sought inspiration from India. They deeply studied Indian scriptures like the Rig Veda, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Upanishads. Max Müller is perhaps the best known German Indologist who contributed a great deal to the study of Indian culture and philosophy. Many prominent scholars continue to bring Indian thought and culture to Germany. Most notable is the Nobel laureate Hermann Hesse. He was greatly influenced by the Buddhism and wrote the spiritual novel Siddhartha in the year 1922. Apart from Max Muller, the German writer Thomas Mann was greatly fascinated by Indian mythology. His novel, The Transported Heads, A Legend of India, published in 1940, explores the relationship between the body, mind, and spirit. Another writer, Guntur Grass, established a close link with India. He not only wrote about India, but also visited the country in 1988 and stayed in Calcutta for 5 months. During his stay, he wrote a travel diary entitled Show Your Tongue. He even drew the sketch for the book cover, which depicts the goddess Kali. He was artist also. This was so appealing to the Bengalis who worship the goddess. These were some German writers who showed their interest in Indian culture and religion. In India, on the other hand, there are a number of writers who have strong links with Germany. Most notable is the novelist Anita Desai. Born to a Bengali uh, father and a German mother, she grew up speaking German and English. She studied in Delhi University and did her English honors from Miranda College. She imbibed cultures of both the countries, India and Germany. Her novels are embodiments of multiple ethnicities and cultures. She is perhaps the most prominent of Indian women novelists. She has won the Booker Prize and several other coveted awards for her fiction. She also received the she has been prescribed in, I think, more than 36 universities the world over. Yet another novelist who has strong links with Germany is Ruth Chawala. Her father was a Jewish lawyer born in the city Cologne in Germany in 1927. She fled from the Nazi Germany and went to England in the year 1939. There she married an Indian architect, Mr. Cyrus Jawala, a Parsi, and moved to New Delhi with him in the year 1951. She lived in India for 24 years before moving to the USA. She has written several novels and was awarded the Booker Prize for her novel Heat and Dust in 1975. Like Jawala, we have today with us Rajveda Joshi, an important Indo-German writer who, after her marriage with an Indian scholar, Mr. Jagdish Joshi, moved to India. But while as Jawala left India and settled in the USA, Rose has stayed in India permanently. Jawala at the end of the day started feeling alienated with India, but Rosveda, on the other hand, has embraced India in all its totality. And today, she is one of us. She has become part and parcel of Indian society and fully adopted that herself to the Indian way of life. In one of her interviews, Rosveda tells us what prompted her to write creative fiction. After coming to India, she was absolutely amazed by the diversity and panoramic culture of India. She would often discuss various issues with uh, with her friends in various literary and social circles. In one such meeting, an Indian friend suggested, and I quote her, she says, I should not waste my talent in discussions and start sharing my views by writing for newspapers. I followed her advice and sent a piece to the daily newspaper, The Pioneer. To my great surprise, it appeared the very next morning. Unquote. This gave Rosveda a boost, and she started writing one story after another. Today, she shares her experiences and thoughts about India and Indians. She is a true symbol of Indo-German synthesis. Let us all wish all the best to her writing. We look forward to reading many more books by her in the years to come. Three cheers. Thank you, Rosveda, and thank you, Jayashri, for uh, organizing such a wonderful webinar and on a very good, as a matter of fact, this webinar was a national event so far, but today it has become international because we have with us a German writer, and tomorrow again we have another Indo-Australian writer, Richard Dhawan. So having said this, may I request Professor Bhatt to say a few words if he's there? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. He's facing some technical glitch.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we will listen to Ms. Rajveda Joshi. Should you invite her?
I thought that Dr. Suman Bala should introduce her in her writing, and after that, Dr. Rosveda Joshi should speak, in my opinion.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Follow up. Professor Suman Bala, we welcome you on board. We invite you to address regarding her writings and her life sketch and her life journey of the writer, Ms. Rajveda Joshi. Please join in with Suman Balla.
Ma'am, she's not here yet.
So in that case, I think Rajveda can speak, because
Yeah, I would prefer that. Because otherwise, you and Dr. Suman Bala will have already said half of what I intended. So I wouldn't mind if I speak now. Shall I start?
please do.
Shall I start?
Yeah, please do that. Yeah.
Okay.
So we welcome Roswitha, and she's going to speak about her creative process and the fiction that she has written.
Respected professors, students, and friends. In the course of this talk, I will give you a taste of what and why I wrote, what inspired me to pen down anecdotes, short stories, novels, and in between, a couple of poems. Apart from a certain adventure spirit, it was my marriage to an Indian academician turned businessman that lured me from Germany to India, where I almost immediately landed a job with the German embassy in New Delhi. Once settled in India, I couldn't fail to notice that it was indeed as incredible a country as it was rumored to be, and decided to enjoy the experience in as open-minded a way as I could manage. I was ever so keen to interpret or rather digest what I gobbled up during my daily life, as well as extensive trips within the country, the ones we are missing now, and that on account of a tiny virus called Corona. Who could have imagined this would ever happen to us and our sense of we have everything under control, or you could call it our ego. At social gatherings, the ones we are also missing now tremendously, I shared the weird and wondrous impressions I had garnered and argued about phenomena, mostly attitudinal, which didn't make sense to me. At one such gathering, as Dr. Dhawan already mentioned, an Indian philosopher suggested that I shouldn't waste my talent in discussions, but start spreading my particular type of wisdom by writing for newspapers. Ever ready to take up a challenge, I followed his advice and sent a piece to the Pioneer, which I entitled Breaking Frames. Nowadays, one would call it out of the box thinking and acting. To my utter surprise, it appeared the very next day, accompanied by a delightful cartoon. This gave me such a boost or encouragement that I shelled out one story after the other, and to my surprise, they were all in the magazine. That they were attractive because I wrote from a different foreign perspective, a fact I wasn't even aware of, as I freely wrote about whatever provoked me. My mind, either my mind or titillated my funny bone. A few years later, another friend opined that once read, newspaper stories ended up in the dustbin or with a rubbish collector. My stories were worth a longer shell life. I should start writing books. Deeply flattered, I took up the challenge too and even quit my job. Now, what was my motivation to quit my job and turn myself into a full time writer? It certainly was not money, as I gave up more than I got. I think, apart from being master of my time, I wanted to share my experiences, insights, and ideas and that in an honest and entertaining way. You might have lots to talk about, but not find a listener. And this can be very frustrating. Strangely, when this happened to me, I turned to writing poetry just for myself. For me, poems represent the gist of a matter, something short and to the point, different from a novel with its colorful description and, in my case, often spunky dialogue. As a full-time writer, I decided to maintain the discipline of a working girl and not wait for divine inspiration or something similar opaque to enter my mind, soul, and finally laptop. And yet, whosoever is in charge of the universe has often gifted me with such inspirations in the form of a dream or a gut feeling or intuition, premonition, sixth sense, inner voice, whatever you call it. I sense something without having factual proof. A dream with a hint of premonition, for example, played a major role in my latest novel called Trapped in Want and Wonder. More about that later. Where now does this divine inspiration come from? Well, observations, statements which surprise or even shock you, unusual experiences, and the reflections on the same all go down into a writer's well, a sort of personal treasure trove from which you can either consciously fish out elements or let them pop up at whim. In writing my novel Trapped in Want and Wonder, my own media experience also proved useful, though I was never actively involved in TV journalism, which plays a major role in my novel. While writing the novel, and due to some personal circumstances, I watched a lot of TV debates and was shocked about the shouting matches deprived of style and content which masqueraded as debates. However, what shocked me the most was the fact that most of the channels took up the same topics in the same manner. I found that fishy. It made me think. The novel Trapped on Front on Wonder was born in two stages. My original intention was to focus solely on child labor, as I had many a times the dubious distinction of observing it at close quarters, and that in rather weird ways. Each time, however, others dismissed my interpretation of what I had seen as smelling a rat where none existed. In other words, it was played down as harmless. I have observed the exploitation of children under the garb or rather sugarcoating of we are taking care of him in case of little boys, or she is just like our own daughter in case of little girls. It took me some time to realize there were different perspectives of looking at child labor, and all of them embedded in a foggy gray area, which I felt like shedding light on. In my novel, I tried to analyze a social malpractice which is widely accepted for reasons of convenience and only condemned when extremely cruel, if not deadly. Now comes a sort of second shift in writing the novel. After I had finished about half the novel, my focus shifted to the electronic media, and what I saw and heard there shocked me out of my wits. In my opinion, the way certain anchors have conducted themselves over the last years has spoiled the level of intellectual discourse. I find the shouting matches and more or less obvious technical and financial manipulations unbearable. It is if they want to pull down not only individuals, but in many cases also entire professional groups by their generalization and accusations, not to mention judgment before trial. The line between excitement and incitement is often crossed. Anchors come across as powerful actors or tools in invisible hands who ruthlessly or patronizingly throw civility and open-minded discussion through the wind to pull down reputations and tear holes into a social fabric. What I watched and heard evening after evening made my heart beat faster and my thinking tools go into overdrive to figure out what could lie behind the show and who might benefit. This proved to be a very disturbing process indeed. The novel is not based on conscious research, but random thoughts that popped up in my mind while glaring at the TV screen and by almost obsessing mulling over them. I now had two strands, child labor and the role of the electronic media. The challenge for me as a writer was to weave them into an exciting fabric. Since the frame of the novel is an Indo-German love story, I mix a heavy dose of passion, including the possibility of marital rape, into the blend. I also use plenty of humor, even while dealing with these serious issues. There is a German saying, humor is when you laugh in spite of what has happened. Besides, I'm also keen to entertain while engaging my reader's mind in topical issues so that they do not turn the pages because they have paid for them, but feel excited about their content. I do this in a simple storytelling style that is easy to grasp and follow because I believe in clarity of thought and style. I do not like convoluted back and forth narratives that confuse your mind and obfuscate the matter. By the way, in the title of my novel, it, by the way, in the title of my novel, Trapped in Want and Wonder, Want stands for need and greed, and wonder for amazement. It is a love story in the course of which both protagonists, a married Indian male journalist and TV anchor, and a German female foreign correspondent, become not only passionate lovers and finally husband and wife, but professional rivals as well. Their different cultural backgrounds and aspirations result in attitudinal clashes, which lead to hilarious dialogue, hot sex, and cold confrontations. What makes a relationship intriguing is that neither of them manages to dominate the other or leaves the battlefield. They live together, love and fight, but do not give up their own identity for the sake of peace. For example, he tries to dominate, she does not submit to it. Consequently, there is never a dull moment, but lots of fireworks in the lived out attempt at gender equality. Their at times playful, at times painful verbal exchanges and actions come to a sudden halt when the male protagonist's lingering fears prove to be true, that invisible hands have pulled strings to destroy him, and much, much more. That is when he had really become a very influential anchor. While he tortures himself figuring out who might be the mind behind the mayhem, he has a dream. And since it has almost prophetic characters, I will read it to you now. He is lying in bed, his wife is sitting next to him, and now he starts talking to her. I had a dream, he whispered, squinting bleary eyed into the distance. It was a strange dream, though there was hardly any action and no violence at all. It scared the shit out of me. Give me an idea, his wife soothingly put her hand over his. His hand was hot, hers cold. Both hands trembled. Well, he loudly moves. It was like a brainwave, or rather the ghost of a brainwave. I stood at the back of a hall filled with men wearing black suits. They faced a platform on which a huge screen had been set up. A man, taller than the rest, sat stiffly on a crimson chair facing the screen. The screen showed a map of India. It gleamed in the semi-darkness as if it were a mosaic of fragments loosely fixed together. Nobody talked or moved. There was a solemn silence, a stillness that was almost eerie. Something momentous had either happened or was about to happen. All waited anxiously what the man in front would do or say, including me. It almost came as a shock when he finally chuckled and then spoke. Dave stopped and inhaled deeply. What did he say? He said, "We have won." Won what? He said, "Our campaign is over. We have finished the reputation of an entire elite, exposed their politicians, bureaucrats, industrialists, banking system, etc., as corrupt and self-serving, their social fabric as brittle, their law and order situation as abysmal. We scared away investors and tourists alike. We threw scam after scam like mud into their faces. We demoralized them, broke their spirit, weeded out their credibility to sow suspicion and distrust. We have to thank our helpers, so most of them didn't even realize that they were working for us. Bit by bit, we had bought the media through which they showed to themselves and the rest of the world how bad they were. They were our messengers who proclaimed, "Don't shoot the messenger," whenever somebody dared to question them. Now we have finished one of the finest and for us most dangerous. Yes, comrades, our campaign is over indeed. We have won a war without fighting a single shot. The man stood up and turned around. His eyes were slanted. So much, it's like a very, very spooky premonition of what Donald Trump called the Chinese virus. A writer's, now I come to another point. A writer's creative well has to be replenished from time to time so that it doesn't dry up. A good way to do it is to expose oneself to something new. A small outing or a big journey, anything goes. As you might have realized, my creative well has been rather rich, filled to the brim or even overflowing. My different cultural background led to associations and parallel thinking, and my education fostered openness towards otherness. Thus, when confronted by barriers, I have striven to overcome them by trying to understand the circumstances and mindset of those who feel the need to either erect or perpetuate what they probably regard as protective fence and I as unnecessary obstruction. In my experience, fences lead to mistrust and aggression, whereas excess offers at least the potential of understanding and friendship. It also satisfies curiosity. And yet, it has also led this coming together to a virus called Corona. Wash your hands often and of each other. Keep social distance. A tiny, invisible virus has turned everything we took for granted into a cauldron of fragments yet to congeal into a form of figure, if ever it will. Weeks before it entered the picture, or rather the atmosphere, I had again a sort of premonition. though at that time I didn't know it was one. The media were full of banking scandals and other fraudulent manipulations that happened on a huge scale. Parallel, I observed that things similar in content and intention also happen closer by, though on a much smaller scale. All these inputs gave me that odd feeling that something momentous is destined to happen. Yet I never thought it would be in the form of a virus. Anyway, it prompted me to write a poem, which I call The Core of the Matter. And with this poem, I will conclude my talk. Here it is, based on observations and thoughts. Furtively they move around, shadow-like they touch the ground. Eyes half closed and yet awake, to seek advantage for their sake. What you have got, be mine one day. Thus their thoughts will silly sway. They scheme and endlessly do strive, as greed eats up your joy of life. They do not see that far away, and neither eye keeps them at bay. The eye that watches every track, and eye whose power pulls them back. They struggle on and do not know. On rocky ground you cannot sow. A softer ground yields much, much more than soil turned stone deep at its core. Thank you for your attention. I hope I was clear. Hello?
Professor Bhatt, would you like to take the stage to have your comments? Professor, Professor Dhawan?
Yes, I thought that will is Dr. Suman Bala there? Dr.
Yes,
Suman?
I'm there. Can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. I would like you to say something about Rajveda and writing, and after that, I'll request Dr. Bhatt to say a few words about Indo-German relationship and his experience as a scholar who has been deeply connected with Germany. So before that, may I request Dr. Suman Bala to say a few words about Rajveda. Dr. Suman Bala.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Jayashri Singh for inviting me to talk about Rajveda Joshi, with whom I have been closely associated for more than a decade. We have traveled together to different parts of India: Jamshedpur, Bareilly, Warangal, Kota, Hyderabad, Shimoga, Nizamabad, et al. She is a good company, and in this city of distances, we try to meet as often as we can. To get on with the job of talking about her as a writer. First of all, I would like to say that Rajveda Joshi is part of German diaspora in India. Brought up in Hamburg, Germany, she is daughter of an army officer. She studied political science, history, and sociology at Hamburg and Frankfurt universities. She came to India after she married Mr. Jagdish Joshi, who was in Germany to do his PhD in economics. She worked from home while she raised a family of her own. Later, she took a full-time job at German embassy and worked in various departments for more than 2 decades. During this period, she wrote about her travels and published it in newspapers. Realizing that newspaper stories have a short shelf life, she decided to become a full-time writer. In 1999, she took voluntary retirement to fulfill this childhood ambition. In her formative years, Roswitha was greatly influenced by her parents. Her father helped her to develop her argumentative powers. Her mother, who had to give up her professional and artistic ambitions after marriage to be a homemaker, wanted Roswitha to be economically independent. On her insistence, Roswitha acquired a multilingual executive assistant diploma from a state academy in Hamburg. Later, she did a translation diploma and built up an alternate career as translator and journalist. She translated numerous research papers and a travel guide on the Himalayas for an Indian publishing house. As full-time creative writer, Roswitha started with writing anecdotes about her life in Bangalore, where her husband was posted when she migrated to India. She found a willing publisher in UBS Publishers and Distributors and published the anecdotes in the form of a book entitled Life is Peculiar in 2003. Before coming to India, she had taken a crash course to learn Hindi language. But this proved to be of no use since nobody in Bangalore spoke in Hindi and she had to use English to communicate. She tried to learn new words in English, and some of this finds way into this book of anecdotes. The book of anecdotes was followed by a collection of stories entitled On the Rocks and Other Stories, which was published in 2004. I would like to discuss here the story Floored Goddesses included in this collection, which shows that Roswitha is a keen observer of life that goes on around her. She perceives the wide gap between what Indians profess and what they practice. On the one hand, Indian scriptures say, Yatra Naryasya Pujyante Ramte Tatra Devata. That is, gods live at the place where women are worshipped. On the other hand, women are treated as slaves or servants in the patriarchal Indian society. In the above mentioned story, Roswitha Joshi portrays in Bridget Somers an expatriate like her who is curious to know more about India. On one fine Sunday, Bridget is invited to lunch by a professor. She keenly watches the posters of goddess Kali and Lakshmi displayed on the walls. This leads to a discussion about the status of Indian women and the freedom they enjoy in independent India. The ironic twist comes at the end of the story when Bridget asks the professor about the lady in the orange sari who had been running around the house managing everything. The professor apologizes for not introducing the women earlier and says, and I quote, "Oh, I forgot to introduce her. She is my wife," unquote. The statement is a brilliant stroke made by the author. An Indian might have perceived the situation as normal, but not the German writer Roswitha. It may be pointed out here that both these books were well received, and the publisher suggested that she should try to write a novel. Roswitha needed just a step to move from short stories to novels. She published her first novel once more in 2007. This was followed by Indian Dreams in 2010. Like her other writings, this novel is also partly autobiographical and partly fictional. Written in the omniscient mode, it is set in the India of the 1970s, the time when Roswitha migrated to India. She saw politicians who professed to be socialists but had cravings for materialistic possessions. She saw the erstwhile princes turning their palaces into hotels for mercenary purposes. All this becomes a part of this story about the love affair of an Indian boy and a German girl. Roswitha weaves into the fabric of the novel her trips to the deserts of Rajasthan and the jungles of Madhya Pradesh. Her latest novel, Trapped in Want and Wonder, was published in 2016. It is a spicy love story of an Indo-German journalist couple, Dave and Dora, who face severe challenges living in India. The novel deals with the themes of child labor, role of electronic media, marital rape, and man-woman relationships. The novel is written from the point of view of the female protagonist. Dora is apprehensive that their helper Amit is involved in child trafficking as he brings in a number of children to the house under the pretext that they are from his native place. Roswitha builds up the suspense very well. When Dora shares this information with her husband, he pays no heed. The husband, who is a TV anchor, is happy to investigate the child labor being practiced in the small scale factories, but is not bothered about child labor involved in employing children as house help. All literature, they say, is a reflection of life. Roswitha is a keen observer of life, and much of her observation find its place in her writing. Many incidents of her life are fictionalized and find their way into the novel. For example, the visit to Dr. Mathur in the novel is what she experienced in real life. The doctor is shell shocked when the protagonist Dora pulls up her skirt to have an injection. She is told by the doctor that, like Indians, she should just lower the skirt a bit to have the injection and not pull up the skirt like the Westerners. The incident also points to the difference between the Indian and Western cultures. And here I would also like to mention another incident where Roswitha describes a train journey in the third AC compartment. It is all fine during the day. I can see Roswitha laughing because it concerns our lives. It's all fine during the day, but at night everyone tries to have the lower berth to sleep. Nobody wants to go to the upper berth. This is fictionalization of our journey together to Bareilly when all ladies in the group came up with weird excuses to retain the lower berth at night. A lively person that she is, Roswitha keeps her readers well entertained all the time. She has a strong sense of humor, which peps up all her writing. Roswitha finds the different genres of poetry, short story, and novel a means to express what she wants to say. Many of her poems are her reactions to an incident or experience. It is interesting to know that Roswitha has translated her poems into German and published them in book form. Before concluding, I must point out that Roswitha has good command over the English language, which we must remember is not her mother tongue. It's a pleasure to read her works for the chiseled sentences and wide vocabulary. She reminds me of Joseph Conrad, who was Pole by birth and who learned English language at the age of 21 and mastered it so well that he was recognized as a major British novelist. Currently, Roswitha is busy putting together a collection of her short stories for publication. I wish her all the best in her endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suman Bala, for giving an excellent commentary on Roswitha as a person and as a writer. I hope one day she would write a book on Roswitha, a critical assessment of her contribution to Indo-German literature. Now, before we
I would
move
love to do that.
on, great. Thank you very much for that. And now we look, before we move to the question answers session, I request Dr. Bhatt. I'm told that he is a very eminent scholar who has had a close association with Germany. When I spoke about Indo-German interaction in terms of literature and culture, Dr. Bhatt was not present. So I will very briefly repeat what I said. Dr. Bhatt, I talked about Indo-German interactions in literature and culture. And I mentioned that there are quite a few German scholars who took a great deal of interest in Indian literature, culture, and philosophy. And the best known name, of course, we know is Max Muller. Apart from Max Muller, I talked about Goethe, I talked about Thomas Mann and Gunter Grass. All these writers, they were inspired by India, by Indian philosophy. They read the Rigveda, they read Mahabharata, they read a play like Shakuntala, and Goethe was so much inspired by Shakuntala that he adopted the technical aspect of that play in his writing. I talked about Goethe's indebtedness to Shakuntala in my talk at Jaipur University, MIT University, a couple of years ago. After that, I also talked about Indo-German writers. You know, these were the writers who had origin in Germany, but there are quite a few Indian writers who have carried that tradition. And the best known name is Anita Desai. She's a novelist now settled in the USA. We all know that our father was a Bengali, and she and mother a German lady. She stayed in Delhi for a number of years. I had from time to time I would go to Anita Desai's residence, discuss about literature, have a cup of tea with her, and very often when one cup was finished, she would say that I know you like tea. Would you like to have another cup? And I would modestly say, I don't mind. And then we would have another cup. So Anita Desai, there is a great impact of German literature on her writing. And as we all know, she is the best known Indian women novelist and is prescribed in 36 universities all over the world. Apart from that, apart from Anita Desai, there's another novelist, Ruth Jawala. Ruth Jawala was born in Germany, but being she was a Jew, and she was hunted by, the family was hunted by the Nazis, and she, along with her family, fled to England. And in England, she fell in love with an Indian scholar, Parsi gentleman, Jawala, Cyrus Jawala. They got married, and then they migrated to India. And in India, Jawala, uh, Marcus, her husband Cyrus, was busy doing architecture work. Ruth was on the other hand. She was a great artist, and Shashi Kapoor actually made a film in collaboration with her. And she also wrote fiction, short stories, novels, and she's also one of the most important Indian women novelists. We call her Indian because she was here. Otherwise, there's a lot of impact of German on her writing. So these are the writers, two writers, Anita Desai, and now we have with us Rajveda Joshi. I'm sure she has a wide corpus of writings, and she's going to write much more, and she's so much popular. As I say that Dr. Sumanwala mentioned about Conrad's this thing example, that Conrad was 21 years old when he migrated from Poland to England, and he learned language then at the age of 21 and became one of the best prose writers of the world. We have another writer, Nadeem Aslam, a Pakistani writer. Uh, he carries the tradition of Afghan literature. He went to England at the age of 18 and didn't know any English altogether. He just knew Urdu. But his family migrated there. He learned Urdu and is one of the best writers of English language today. So, like them, Roswitha is with us, and Dr. Sumanwala has already mentioned that she learned English at a much later stage and is regarded as one of excellent writers, writer of diaspora in India. So this is the background of what I said. Now I invite Dr. Bhatt to say a few words about, say, whatever his connection with Germany has been. Professor Bhatt. I'm not sure whether it is professor or not. Yes. Can everyone?
So your mic is on mute.
Yes, yes. I can't hear Dr. Bhatt.
Now,
Yes. Now,
you listen me?
yes.
Not so.
Sure.
Wait a minute. Oh, how it is. मैंने तो सारा unmute कर दिया. I have done.
Yes. We can hear you.
I can listen you, Arkey Saab. I
Yes.
listen to Dr. Suman Bala also. But
Yes.
why is my what's the problem?
You are audible, sir. You are audible now.
We can hear you.
You can hear me. Oh, great. Oh, wonderful. Oh,
I hope everybody can hear Dr. Bhatt.
yeah.
Yes, he's audible.
Okay. Dr. Please go ahead.
Rajveda can listen to me? No.
Rajveda, can you listen? Can you hear Dr. Bhatt?
No?
Sir, we can listen to you.
Very good afternoon.
Yes,
Oh, it's really great meeting you all, great people. I listened to Dr. Suman Balaji, a really wonderful account of Rosvitha ji, and I read some of her writings, especially about Bakaner and Chambal and Varanasi, a kind of travel log, and it reminds me of Schwerin near Hamburg and castles of Bavaria and Ludwigsburg and Rothenburg. My interaction with Germany started 1967 when I joined Malviya Regional Engineering College as a lecturer in physics, and I attended German language classes, and Dr. Bretzler used to be our teacher, which later Madam Surana joined it. So 67, it's really a little earlier than that, since when I was doing my master's in physics. I came across names like Heisenberg, Schrödinger, like Max Planck, like Max von Laue, and other Schrödinger, and that made me to learn more about Germany. And the opportunity came in 1977. I got an opportunity from Max Planck Institute as a scholar, as a scholarship, and went to January 78 to Stuttgart. Now, that was where it started the real interaction with the Germany, and meeting people, knowing about the culture and the cultural part of it. And then after doing my doctoral degree from the University of Stuttgart, I came to Jaipur back, and I started getting a lot of invitation to visit various places, and that's where I went to Calcutta, and you had mentioned about Arkey Saab had mentioned about Gunther Grass and association with Calcutta and Varanasi and Chennai and Bangalore and lots of places. Then I was invited as a visiting professor by University of Applied Sciences Bremen, and I went there and remained there for about 7 or 8 years. semester, and that also provided me an opportunity to interact with students and know more about the culture, and especially the uh, visit to Heidelberg and visit to um, this place near Stuttgart, University of Tübingen. That was a great experience, in fact, interacting with people much deep-rooted in the culture, starting almost from Bhagavad Gita to Upanishad to all that. I'm in this cultural exchange, and it's kind of a tip of the iceberg we see, but it's much deep-rooted in time and in history. And you can have a feel of it, in fact, and Ma'am Rosvita knows very well, and she has seen it so well, as mentioned, and I have also read. In fact, I love to meet her, but I think we have not met probably. So in all, I made about 6 visits to German universities and the scientific institute. My interaction more has been on the science side, and here in India, I mean, especially I was a regular invitee to IIT Madras, where most of the professors had their training in Germany, in fact, because it's a German collaboration. And all the way from Jawaharlal Nehru, who met Adenauer and started this chain of IITs. Interaction with Varanasi was also because many of the professors has been to, especially in the material science and to in Germany, and their interaction with the German literature, with German people, the German food, all wonderful. We have been talking about this pandemic era. See, it's just a small part when we go into the long histories of nations, goes for centuries and for millennium, in fact. We find this technological advancements very important to continue our quest for cultural exchange, for cultural meetings, and listening to each other. And my interaction with literature, I have read a little bit as I find it very fascinating. But what I fascinated was by Tübingen was this all Upanishad, the dialogue between Maitreya and Yagval, the dialogue between Krishna and Arjun. I mean, I was feeling there as I am here with my own people, in fact, when I went to the University of Tübingen. I really appreciate, I am really thankful to Dr. Jayashree, who gave me an opportunity to talk to such big people and interact with them. I wish I have a lot to say, but I do not know my time limit, and I'm really sorry. It's already 1:30, it's at 1:26. I had some technical problems also in starting all that, which happens there. But I will definitely go through more writings, Haji, and as Dr. Suman Balaji talk about, and continue my interest and my interaction with you all. I can see Sharma Saab, I suppose, right? So I thank you once again, all of you, for having listened to me as a chairman and governor of AIR, and I have always I mean, strive that we get connected with more and more German institute and kind of more collaboration with German universities. So there is a market interaction with uh, Germany and India on scientific and technological level and so on. So other cultural part of the both the countries. So I thank you, sir, for inviting me very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatt, for a brilliant talk on your interaction with the Germans and the Germany. I find ample knowledge of literature as well. And one day, maybe next time, whenever we have another webinar at this university, we will talk about impact of science literature. Look forward to that one day. Thank you very much. And
well, I'll invite because I have loved places like Schwerin. I have loved places like Rothenburg. I have loved places, the castles of Bavaria, and all around. And if I talk about the Chambal, which Ma'am Roswitha has written one of his travel log, or really going all the way from Rana Pratap Sagar to Jawar Sagar Dam to Kota Barrage to Dhalpur and in and around along the Chambal River is a fascinating experience, in fact. So also about Wakaner. This Gujarat, the small town there, it's a big town, not a small town, but it has a very, very nearby one of the oldest technical institute, the Morvi Institute of Technology, as called MIT of Gujarat, established in 1956. I have been to that institute, in fact, and I know the floods we had around, I think, 85 or something like that, in fact, there. But it's lovely to know more. I know Gujarati as I'm a Gujarati.
Yes.
But yeah.
Sorry for interrupting. I want to tell you, I came to know about Bankaner through the camels at the Republic Day parade. And I wanted to see the place where they came from.
Oh, great. See, Varanasi has been, I'm in this university of the Banaras Hindu University, one of the pioneers, and lots of interaction with Germany it had, in fact, and I was a regular. You have the going to this Dashmegh and Manikarnika Ghat and all those is another kind of experience you have it over here, in fact. But along the side, we used to do a lot of work at Banaras. It had a wonderful physics department, material science department, and other departments also. Yeah, right. Sorry for.
Thank you.
About Banaras a lot. We can talk more about Banaras.
Sure. So maybe we should plan a trip with you, Rosveda, Jayashri, and all others who are interested to Banaras one day.
Yes, and, oh yes, I would love that. See, Professor Padmanabh.
Yes.
He's now the chancellor of this Jiddu Krishnamurti Institute there, in fact, at Rajghat Foundation.
Okay.
And he was a regular comer to Stuttgart and Max Planck Institute for Material Science. And we had a great interaction. His wife, a professor of gynecology in the Banaras Hindu University, in fact.
Okay.
And it was lovely. She's a Gujarati lady. And Padmanabh is from Chennai.
Great.
Both big people.
I know Gujaratis are very important today in this country. So thank you for a very lively contribution to this wonderful conference. All of you, Rosveda, Suman Bala, and Dr. Bhaju have played an excellent role today. And before I go to, I think we ought to have some question and answers. The questions can be put even Dr. Bhatt, Rajveda, or to Dr. Suman Bala. May I invite the questions now? We begin with that, Sachin. Jayashri, is that all right?
Yeah, sir. Indeed, we are ready for the question. I think I'm the first to raise the question to Miss Rajvita. Can you hear Miss Rajvita Joshi ji?
I can hear you very clearly, but I can't see you.
Yeah. While reading some excerpts from the stories, especially from the book On the Rocks, I had come across some image of galloping horse or highly spirited horse, or maybe the horse that had been in your subconscious mind, and you always wish to be, kind of a papper, PAPPER, papper horse, man galloping with all that sweet, high, energetic spirit, but coincidentally, some pressures of life or some, unwanted fears led you into always thinking about that image, but then again bringing you into some, conflicting zone, and make you think to forget that image of horse, galloping horse. Why do you think that image of that horse is so important in your life?
This is a very interesting question, because right now I'm thinking about something. An artist friend of mine, he gifted me once a painting of a black horse which is galloping through flames, through fire. And maybe because I'm facing this image every day or maybe this is why I'm losing it. For me, the horse needs to move, to gallop, to move ahead. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Dhawan sir.
Yes.
Could you once mute your mic, because when Rajveda ji was speaking, your mic was there as interruption.
I'm sorry about that. Yes.
No, you mute your mic. Miss Rajveda Joshi ji, could you just repeat what you were saying?
You know, I used this years ago, but I can imagine a friend of mine and others maybe because I'm facing this image every day or the time it is in my mind that I want to express somebody who moves ahead. It symbolizes a spirit which wants to move ahead against all odds. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we are listening.
Yeah, I said I spoke already.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Next question. Anybody else? Professor Dhawan?
I wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, please welcome. So please, when you ask a question, give your name and name of the city you belong to.
Yes, sir. This is Pratik Tamar from Bikaner, sir. I am a research scholar. Yes, I wanted to ask a question. Roshita ma'am, can you tell us about any incident or part of Indian culture which is very different from Germany and that you liked very much?
You mean a funny one? You know, one incident was when I started working in the embassy in those days, the ambassadors gave dinner parties and all the ladies came in evening gowns. And there was a fact that you had a gown which was closed in front, but pretty low cut at the back. So I asked my husband was on a business trip, I was alone, and I asked the tailor to come and tailor me such a dress. And he came or tried and it was not low cut at the back at all. And I said, but I told you to make it low cut. Then he said, oh, I can't do that. I said, why not? He said, because one could see your bra. I said, maybe I don't want to wear any. And then he looked very shocked. And after some pondering, he came out and very shyly said, look, then we have to wait till your husband comes back. He wanted to ask my husband's permission. This was a very strange thing for me. Hello?
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You meant this type of funny incidents or
Ma'am, any funny incident or any part of Indian culture that is very different from Germany and you liked it so much?
yeah, you know, this was a funny incident, but I can also say something. Once I wanted to do something, and my husband told me, I gave you your freedom. And I said, listen, you didn't give me my freedom. I was born free. So it was a very hello? Hello?
Okay, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah?
Ma'am,
Hello?
am I allowed to ask a question?
Sure, absolutely. Please give your name and the city you belong to.
Right. Ma'am, my name is Samina Wagla. I am coordinating this event. I am a scholar under Dr. Joshi Singh, and I'm from Udaipur itself. Ma'am, am I audible?
But very faintly. Could you speak a little louder?
Yeah, please do. Yes.
Ma'am, my name is Samina. I'm coordinating this event. I'm a scholar under Dr. Joshi
Yes,
Singh.
I understood. But what's the question?
Yeah. Ma'am, my question to you is that you said that you were recruited in this German embassy.
Yes?
So, ma'am, why did you feel to be considered as locally recruited employee in the German embassy?
I don't understand what the question is.
Ma'am, my question to you is that why did you feel the need to be locally employed in the German embassy?
You know, just like many people, first with your abilities. I mean, I took a job to me and I was very happy. I always wanted to be a working woman, a working girl, and use my education. And I wanted to earn money.
I think it is mainly because Roswitha is a German. She knows German language very well, and she was here, so she got employment with embassy. Next question.
Okay, ma'am, thank you so much.
Any other question? Welcome, please.
Sir, I would like to read.
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
There's a para she's written autobiographically
Yes.
with reference to that why she was always inclined to be a working lady and why she wanted to be a professional, skillful person. Actually, her parentage, especially mother, when mother got married to her father, and but mother always accustomed herself to the societal conditions, and she was always a full-time mother and homemaker. So Rashvida ji, in her biographical way, she writes that their mother always tried to her best to prevent with the times, given up all professional and artistic ambitions in favor of a life as full-time mother and homemaker. And she prevented Rajvita's sister and Rajvita from major escapades. Thus, when Rajvita graduated from a prestigious girls' school in Hamburg,
with emphasis on Latin and Greek. Her mother insisted that she immediately enroll herself in a one-year course for graduates to acquire a multilingual executive assistant diploma from a state academy in Hamburg. Father was against it, but after all, this delayed her entry into university life. So Rajveda, however, wanted to make sure to acquire the professional tools to earn her money if she so desired and need arose. And many years, however, wanted to make sure that he acquired the professional tools so that women like her could face men differently from women like her because they were economically independent. So this was actual intrinsic uh, point in her life, in her background, in her parentage, grooming, that she wanted to be independent. And that's why when she came to India, even after taking all the responsibilities of family life and home front, she kept on working, and until 99 she was into job. And after that she felt that she should now surrender to her desire of writing and translating completely. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Rajveda, please. Rajveda, will you like to respond? Can you hear me?
So she's disconnected.
She has left.
Yeah.
She's left.
She's left. And is there any item, Jayashri, before we close?
Sir, just I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude for your constant boost that you provided me right from the day when I made a call to you, and slowly and gradually you gathered a team of strong alchemy of achieving persons and made this movement so favorable, so fortunate. It's really, we cannot think of it that if you had not been here with all your team, we would not have been able to conduct this kind of uh, uh, international intercultural exchange. So we are really thankful to Professor Subrambala, who at the instant messages of ours, always sweetly, with all her light and beautiful spirit, cooperating us, responding us. I also thank Professor Y.C. Bhatt. He had been in a long association in the Indo-German Society to all of us. For some time, for 5 years, we had been not in touch. But coincidentally, for 1 month, we are wishing good morning to each other. And he has been so sweet that he has given us his time. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And Jagdish Batra, sir, if you are here, thank you for being a good listener, participant, and sparing your precious time to experience all what we are putting
I'm
here.
thankful to you for giving me this invitation, and I really enjoyed the session today and intend enjoying it further tomorrow. Thank you so much, Jayashree ji. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And finally, shall I thank Dr. Jayashri. She is the spirit behind this excellent webinar, and our team which has conducted this webinar so well. And finally, I must thank Dr. Bhatt for bringing Germany closer to India. And thanks everyone, all the listeners, all the participants, young scholars. I am delighted to hear the questions put by young scholars. They are so intelligent scholars. They put very relevant questions. And I look forward to tomorrow's program. Today it was Indo-German. Tomorrow we will have Indo-Australian. And we have a young women writer, Arkey Dhawan. She has just published a debut book of fiction, a collection of 13 stories, which has been recently released. She'll talk about our stories and also release the book. We'll release the book, and Dr. Jagdish Bhatta is going to play a very important role there. So we look forward to tomorrow, another morning of creative writing. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jayashri.
Good day to you. Best wishes for the nice day. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
And Dr. Bhatt, please do join us tomorrow as well. Thank you.
Jayashree ma'am, can we close now?
Yes, yes. Now you just close down everything. Leave MS Teams.
Okay, ma'am.